Hey everyone, it's C Advance. Happy Halloween! So for my Halloween review, I decided to do something different. Well, Halloween video, I should say. Rather than doing a video about my personal picks about something, I'm going to let you pick the video for something. Sort of. You see, a couple of years ago, I made posts on both Nightmare on Elm Street films and Retro Dunks forums asking a question that a lot of people want to know. Even though it's kind of considered taboo by today's movie standards, was there a horror movie remake that anyone just liked? Surprisingly, there was a lot of posts about this. And so, from the picks that came up, a lot, and believe me, there was a lot, I decided to narrow it down to 5 picks. And just based on how many times it came up again and again and again and again. Now, with that said, there's only one rule. The movie's original source material has to come from something here in America. Why? Well, just because it's an American movie. I mean, if it's a remake made in America, it has to be an American-made subject. I mean, come on. So with that said, welcome to the top 5 horror movie remakes by fan opinion. Number 5, The Omen. Yeah, this one's really kind of a surprise for me personally because this one came up a lot. If you haven't seen these movies, simply put, they are the little kids, the Antichrist. Enough said. So, the biggest problem I think a lot of people are going to have about this movie, though, is it's like Psycho's remake. A lot of it is just a rehash of the original, but the biggest difference from Psycho is that where Psycho was kind of just literally the same song and dance, this one was more, it made more sense. It was like everything was worked in a way that it just worked better. It just like things were different, people died differently, there was an extra death. All in all, and as for the cast, comparing the two, there were some things that worked, some things that didn't, but for what it's worth, yeah, they definitely worked out for the better. Either way, it's like potato, potato, tomato, tomato for me. Number 4, Dawn of the Dead. Let me put one thing to bed. I made a video earlier, and another movie's going to be on here about this, where there are certain movies that actually do make me feel uneasy. And this is one of those movies. As for the plot, if you haven't seen this movie yet, simply put, a bunch of people are trying to survive the zombie apocalypse by hiding in a mall that's locked down. It's a pretty good movie. Now, the first movie, it was good because it was scary and gory as you could possibly imagine. I mean, it's George A. Romero. He made the zombie franchise the way it is. With the Dawn of the Dead remake, I wasn't really all that thrilled because it was, they were trying to incorporate the new Speed Zombie from like 28 Days Later that they had, and it really just didn't work for me. You may like it, but that was the one that kept coming up the fourth. Number 3, The Blob. This one is the other movie I was talking about when I said there are movies that just make me feel uneasy, and for good reason. Where the original Steve McQueen movie, when someone died, it was just like, and they're gone. That was what made that one okay. This, you see them die, and it's like acid treatment because it's just downright scary just seeing this stuff happen to these people. In fact, the most scariest death is the one that's on the DVD cover. But the plot, if you haven't seen the movie, basically some weird alien stuff, well, as far as we think, spoiler alert, comes to our planet and starts turning people into chow. And as far as like how it compares to the original, it's it still kind of feels the same in some parts, but some parts really do stand out in the crowd, and it's definitely big differences. Number two, The Fly. Yeah, this one actually does something that was smart. Instead of just rehashing the original like it does, they decided to tweak the story and make it work for the better. Case in point, spoiler if you haven't seen either film, in the original Fly, what basically happens is the Fly and the human swap body parts. Whereas here, it's a slow progressional mutation into a combination of the two, basically a hybrid mode of the two. Jeff Goldblum's really good. Gina Davis is also pretty good. Um, it's kind of a weird movie, and it still has its shock value. But what makes The Fly really up there for me personally is that it is a good film, and I really do think that this is one you should take a look at just because it's that good. And the number one film that keeps coming up every time I talked about horror movie remakes is the John Carpenter version of The Thing. Yeah, that one. You know this was going to be number one. I mean, come on. Now, personally, I've seen the original and I've seen the remake, and I gotta say, it's like night and day. I mean, it's completely different. The first one was kind of like Frankenstein in the snow, whereas this thing is like, it's just scary. I mean, it's sort of like an alien version of a chameleon, running around pretending to be somebody else. And it's scary, it's got the shock value, and it's interesting because it is what it is. Now, there is talk about later this month being a prequel to the Thing remake, and I'm kind of interested to see what it's like because it's going to be it's going to be scary, it's going to be spooky, but I definitely would like to see this one because I would like to see more of what happened to that first team that's out there and all that stuff. So I hope you guys have a nice Halloween this year, and I will bring out some of my other videos soon. And this is the Advance saying, again, Happy Halloween.